Here at Angel Water. We're live doing our live event the first Saturday of the of every month. We do a live live expo where we talk about water related issues. Today's water related issue that we're going to talk about is water testing and how important it is. Right now we have a little iPad problem, so we are having a little issue with it, but we'll be okay. It's been an interesting day because today we actually had a customer come in with a water concern right before we opened. Her name was Heidi Rosteiner, and she's from Huntley. And so I'll talk about that in just a couple seconds. So today we want to talk about water testing. We want to know, why do we want to do why? So before we start with why, I want to mention that there's two types of water supplies out there in the United States. There is city water supply or municipal water supply, and then the second is going to be private wells. So we're going to address both of those today. We're going to talk about why it's important to test water on both of them. First off, I want to talk about water and its importance to the human body. It's pretty easy. You're made of water, right? If you guys have watched any of my videos, your body is made of water. So this is why I want to sort of talk about it. If it's made of water, that means if I drink this, it becomes me immediately. Sort of like if you eat a banana, within 4 hours, you're the banana. So again, we are made up of trillions of cells, and our cells are, what fills our cells is water. So it's very important to consider this water droplet and how important it is to your body. It's not only important to your body, but it's important to your home. But today's water testing talks about why it's so important, really from the health perspective. From a home perspective, yes, stuff can be on it. It can build up inside of pipes. Like if we had a lot of rock on it, it can close off the pipes, making it very difficult for the plumbing system to run water. People have pressure reduction problems in their homes because too much rock actually gets into the plumbing pipes and it closes it off. So as a plumbing company, we'll go out there and solve some of those issues that are for your home. That said, the main thing though is this water droplet for your body. So when we consume this water droplet, it becomes you. 70% of your body is water, if not a little higher. 90% of your brain is water. So let's talk about why it would be important if you're on city water or well water. First is city water. In fact, Heidi just walked in, and again, she's from Huntley, and she brought in this water sample. This water bottle right here, and this water bottle, she wanted to be tested for coliform and nitrates and a few other things because in front of her house, a water main broke, and this broke over a week ago, and their dog got sick right away, and so they were very sick, and they had to take it to the vet, and she was wondering what's going on with this, and then her dad got sick, and then just the other day, her daughter got sick. And so when the water main broke, the city had to come out and start opening up the ground, and they dug it up, and they were looking to get to the pipe so they could fix it. But in the meantime, all they did was put a flyer on everyone's door saying, boil your water. So nobody really said, hey, let's come in, test the water. No one really took control of it. So we are all relying on the city in this particular case to always distribute us and provide us with good clean water. So my question to you is, if you're constantly drinking from your tap water and you're drinking it and you're relying on it, you do realize that you're relying on the government to give you good, clean water. That's a big question. Do you trust the government to do that? What do you trust the government to do right? And so my point of view is just, it's not that the government is wrong. Actually, our water system in the United States is the best, I would argue, in the world. It's fantastic. The water in America is fantastic because of the governing agency, EPA, that has made cities around the country add a little bit of chlorine to the water on a regular basis. Now, that said, it has to go through millions and millions and millions of feet of pipe. So that pipe can break, like in Heidi's case. Or it can break in the city of Chicago because they still even have old water mains that are made of wood. It's crazy. It really does happen. So it's worth saying to yourself, okay, if the city, which is the government, which is made up of man, and they are in charge of providing me clean water, do I entrust my health, that 70% of my body, 90% of my brain, do I trust that government to do a good job? Now, so far, I think that we've done a pretty good job at it, but arguably cases like Heidi exist, arguably cases like Flint, Michigan exist, arguably I'd even say cases like Chicago exist, where people do have lead in their water. Now, it might not be caused by the city pipes, it might be their own water pipe from the city street coming into their home that has lead in it. So I look at that and I say, and we've had a bunch of customers who have constantly, who have called us and asked us to do water testing, and we've found scary things in their water. So this video is designed, or this live video is designed to help you understand the importance of testing your own water. Now, the one episode I want to bring up is that cities had is in 1993. Milwaukee had a hiccup. They had a hiccup because there's excess rain that occurred. By the way, this also happened in Chicago in the late 1800s. But they had excess rain. We had a ton of rain, and what happened was all the rain washed cow manure and other pesticides and herbicides and stuff into Lake Michigan, and then the Lake Michigan rotates counterclockwise. So if Lake Michigan is sort of like this, and up here is the farm fields, and it rotates counterclockwise. Here's Milwaukee, and what happened is these farm fields, their water, the rain washed cow waste or cow manure into the lake, rotated counterclockwise. The lake, the water authority for Milwaukee drew that in, and they were add chlorine to it, but the men that were working that day, or the people that were working that day, didn't treat it quite right. Didn't add enough chlorine, is what my understanding was. And hundreds and hundreds of people, thousands of people got sick. Now, it caused a huge disruption. In fact, the last report that I sort of read when I was doing this research is over 50 people died that they think they were caused by this. And so that's a small estimate. And this is just 1993. So it's one of the worst case scenarios that's of city water supply having a hiccup or having a mistake like this in the United States. No, so this does happen. So it's worth considering that, hey, listen, we're relying on man and we're relying on their plumbing system to be able to actually treat the water correctly. In addition, you have to remember, if you live in Chicago, if the water is rotating counterclockwise, where does our water come from? It comes from water that's rotating counterclockwise, which is Milwaukee area. Milwaukee brings the water in, they use it, then they're done using it, they add chlorine to it, and they send it back out to Lake Michigan, so their sewage actually rotates counterclockwise. And so it goes onto the lake, and then it rotates counterclockwise, and Chicago pulls that in. So this is why we have prescription drugs in our drinking water. Arguably, it's because people north of us, their wastewater gets into the water, into Lake Michigan. Not to mention Chicago, 1/4 inch of rainfall produces 5 billion gallons. 5 billion gallons of raw sewage that backs up into Lake Michigan, and again that starts going counterclockwise. So with all that stuff happening, to me, it just makes sense that we double check it. We make sure that the cities are correct. We make sure that we don't have a Flint, Michigan. Test for lead in your water. Test for bacteria like Heidi needs to do in your water if you're getting city water. If they've told you to do a boil order, be careful. Demand more from your city. Say, I want you to test my water. Or like Heidi did, she brought in her water to be able to test for us to do it with her. Now, if you are the second type of person, that's a well customer. So a well customer basically has a well cap outside their home, and that well is drilled into an aquifer, below the Earth's crust. So below our feet throughout the whole Chicagoland area, and basically almost anywhere in the United States, we can drill below our feet and we can usually find an aquifer. The deserts, maybe not so much, but almost everywhere else we can drill and we can find water under our feet. The water's sitting in an aquifer. And as it sits in that aquifer, there are things that get in your water. So as the pressure tank from this house pulls that water up with the pump, then it distributes it to your house. A lot of people on private wells think their water is great. And in many cases it is. In most cases, I would actually argue that it is. In fact, well water is fantastic. I think you have Mother Nature actually cleaning the earth. But the EPA recommends that everyone on a private well does water testing on their home at least once a year. The Department of Health thinks that you should do coliform nitrates and lead. You should do that 3 or 4 times a year. So a lot of well owners out there, people who are watching, I know that when, in fact, we got a little note from Ben who says that he's on well water. So well water, how often you need to test it is what he's asking, and that is at least once a year. Now, we want to be able to test things like if they're pesticides, herbicides. There's a great document that EPA produced that's on their website for well owners that you can access by contacting Angel Water, visiting our website at angelwater.com. And for well owners, we can give you a list of what this EPA recommends that you test for. But it's not just 3 things, it's a whole laundry list, right? Because the aquifer under your feet is always changing. So since the aquifer is always changing, it's important for you to remember, oh, my duty as the water authority for my family is to test that water on a regular basis. That's so that my family doesn't get sick. So we've had customers who've come in that said, oh my God, my family's sick. We don't know why. By the way, a lot of them are along the Fox River Valley area. So the Fox River Valley, wherever we have lakes or marshes, there is a higher percentage of people who get coliform and different things in their drinking water, probably because the water migrates into their aquifer or into their own well a lot easier. So it's more important for those people to test their water on a more regular basis. So again, if you're on well water, the number one thing that the EPA says you should do is test this at least once a year. You want to do it more often, according to the Department of Health, for coliform, nitrates, and lead on a more regular basis. Don't forget, if you've watched any of my lead video before, lead in service pipes were used in Chicago all the way up until the mid-1980s. It's crazy, since the mid-1980s. So if we were using lead in the distribution pipes throughout the whole Chicagoland area, that also includes the suburbs, that means maybe your water main is coming into your house has lead in it. If you have a private well and the well was drilled before 1985, you might very well have positive lead in your water. We had that up in Tower Lakes here with a client, and so he had to do a filter system for every faucet at his house. So this is a very big concern. I hope that what I've done is enlighten you to how important it is to do water testing, especially in an environment where a lot of the time we feel like the city should be giving us good, clean water. We demand it. We deserve it. I do think that it's a right of ours to expect that from our government is good, clean water. But keep in mind that the city water and even the water levels that the EPA recommends for wells, that water testing schedule, what they recommend that we test water to, that schedule was set back in 1972. So based on it being set in 1972, my question is, should we, now that we know so much more about water, by the way, back then we could test in parts per million. Today we can test in parts per billion. Again, we could test in parts per million back then. Today it's test in parts per billion. Today, we know so much more about the water droplet and how important it is to the human body, and we can analyze it so much better. My question is, isn't it important that you test and look at this on a regular basis and do water testing for your family on a regular basis? If you need help with that, come in and see us. We can certainly help facilitate that. We do some basic testing in our office here, but most of the time we send it out to an EPA certified lab, and we can help facilitate that. We charge no extra money. We simply charge what we get charged for on most of those cases, and we're happy to help you out and do that. When it comes to coliform nitrates, we do those in-house, and we're not a licensed facility, but we will do it so it can give you an idea of what's going on, and then if it is something scary, you can demand something from your city. So I hope this helps you out. Again, if you'd like to visit us, you can visit us at angelwater.com. You can call us at 847-382-7800. And I appreciate everyone tuning in today. And thanks for the questions from Heidi and Ben today.